because you moved from Italy to England, and I
Yes.
think you said at the time you didn't have English, like you hadn't learned English.
No.
Whoa.
So when I moved 12 years ago because I used to be a pro football player in Italy.
Oh.
And so my life was always, I'm gonna play football. Let's say I'm sorted. And then when I was 16, I got signed from a pro club. So my life was pretty. The trajectory was the pro life. Like I was training every day, going to school, but like usually Friday and Saturday I would go for away for the games. I would start getting paid. I was still young, but like that was my dream. That's what I was working for. And then I don't know, like I got injured. Then
Oh.
things, yes, did not work out the right way. And also, I believe I wasn't really, I don't know. I think sometimes we don't really believe in ourselves.
Oh.
Because I'm a firmly believer there's no talent. Just work hard. Somehow you make it. Because I used to be a striker. I played a striker for like 10 years. And then one day I was like, you know what? I just want to be a goalkeeper, which no training, nothing. Like, and then I started playing as a goalkeeper. And in 4 years, I made the pro. So it was like, there's no talent, it's just like obsession.
Okay.
And then when things did not work out really well, I kind of was like, what's going on? And then I think at this point, if I look back, I think it was kind of like a depression, if it makes sense, because I was just looking for the team to call me. Like in the summer, I spent the entire summer just home next to the phone, waiting to ring it. It didn't ring, and I was like, there's something going on here.
Oh.
And obviously, when you're 18, you're kind of old to play football, which is ironic, right? Because you're
Really?
just so. But obviously, to play football, you're like if you're an athlete, you're pretty old. And I was like, this is not happening. What do I do? And I was like, I called my uncle, which he lives in Australia.
Oh.
And my
Okay.
uncle was my uncle was always, you know what, like if you don't make it there, just come here, and I know football players, I know everyone, so you'll be sorted. So I make the desperate call. I call my uncle. I said, "Just come, uncle. I just got released for my team," and he started using excuses. It was like, "Oh well, so," and I was like, I was thinking maybe, and he started like interrupt me, and I was like, oh, maybe just to Tino, right now the football is not really good here. So basically, he's been chatting shit for like 20 years, like for 18 years, he's been telling me like, come here, you're gonna play. And then when I called him, it was like, oh, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe we're not doing the right things. And then I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm moving to the UK because my intention was I was gonna play football
Oh.
somehow.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm gonna play. So I moved to the UK with no English, zero, and that's where my life began. Yeah, that's where my life began. I mean, to be fair, I could not find a way out at the airport. The moment when I arrived, I
Because the signs they didn't.
I designed because I left. I did have a laptop. I did have like a dictionary. I had like nothing. So I would just read the sign. Now, like, so in Italy, for example, like the word reclaim, it means reclamare, which means complain.
Oh.
So when I read the reclaim luggage, I was like, oh, I do have to complain. So I went on the other side of the airport, and literally I was there for 3 hours, like a London Gatwick, 3 hours, just like try to speak to people. People have no clue what I was saying. I was trying to find Italians, could not find a single Italian. And then after 3 hours, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to complain as well. So I went to the reclaim direction. He opened the door, and here we are, just my suitcase. And I was like, what? Why did I decide to do this thing? It's like a
That's.
suicide mission. It's like a suicide mission.
It starts out hard, right? Like I think all of the stuff that's difficult to do, or any new thing generally, always starts out difficult. But
Hmm.
that's extra difficult because I mean you really I do kind of like how that went together though, because eventually you got angry enough to want to complain, and the two
Yeah.
words eventually came together and brought you to where you needed to be. But
That's the first word I learned in English. It was like a reclaim. I was like, okay,
reclaim,
it's no complaining. All right, cool.
reclamare. So that's in Italian is
Reclamare.
complaining.
Yeah, yeah, reclamare.
Okay, nice.
Oh, but yeah. And then from there, I found this room in Zone 3 London, and I started living with this Jamaican family.
Okay.
Zero English. Okay, I started living with this Jamaican family, like in the attic, and literally, I had no idea, and I'm looking for jobs. So the first few weeks, I would still train myself, and I would show up with my bag, with my football bag, in the like football pitch, and I would just go there waiting to get. I don't know. I just when you watch a movie, you'd be like, something's gonna happen.
Okay.
Nothing happened.
Oh no.
I was like, I was a kid with a dream but no plans. You know what I mean? Like, and then like I didn't even Google it, like the training ground. I would go straight to the stadium, which was empty anyway, because the stadium, unless it's like a Saturday or Sunday for the game, no one is going to train there. So I would go there, and I would sit in random like football team lobby, just waiting for someone, and then people were like, what was this guy doing here? And I would just look at him smiling. I thought it was a dream. I thought somehow someone would be like, you know what, come to my team, you're going to become the best goalkeeper. It did not happen. And then that's when I start finishing my money, because I only left with £2,000,
Okay.
which is literally £2,000. And those £2,000, I only had £2,000, right? And of £2,000, I paid £400 for my flight ticket and £433 for my first month of rent. I had the £433 for my first deposit. And basically was just game over already. Before I even started, it was already game over. I had like something like left like £200, £300. And every time I had to spend £35 for the underground.
Yeah,
so at the moment I was like, okay, this is not going well. I need to find a job. I will go into places, knock the door, and I learn really quick. Like in the morning, I would just focus, I'd be like, good morning, I'm looking for a job. So I looked pretty professional. So
Okay.
I would go there, knock the door, and be like, good morning, I'm looking for a job. And then the first thing they would say back to me, I'd be like, I don't speak English. So, and I had people like yelling at me, like wasting their time. And I was like, oh, this is not going well. And then I ended up working as a kitchen porter.
Okay, classic.
I got a job. And and then from then on, I remember start working as a kitchen porter. And in that moment, with my first payslip, because I made it just in time. I started working in November. I was like, by the time I get paid, I will be zero money, so I'll be fine. I remember the first time I got paid. For the company took like £400 deposit and £100 for the uniform. So I remember me getting paid just £200, and I genuinely at this moment I had no money for food. So I'm dropping weight. I've been stealing bread and butter. When I finish work, I just go upstairs to the restaurant. I steal bread and butter because it was also like a posh restaurant. I could have stolen anything I wanted. You just bread and butter, and I would go back home and some tomatoes. And I would go back home, and the Jamaican mom, she will ask me, like, obviously I couldn't understand what she was saying, but she was like, this is what you eat. Is everything what you eat? And I was like, yeah, it's good, it's good. Like, she's a mom. She knew I was struggling. She could feel it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I already lost at this point, like, at least 6 kilos, like, in 2 months. I was just literally deteriorating. And then one day, I come back from work, it was 5 p.m. Bear in mind, the work I've been treating like shit. Like, they've been treating me like, because, like a kitchen porter, unfortunately, people don't understand how important they are. Because if they stop washing dishes, where are you going to serve the fancy food? Do you know what I mean? That's the main thing. And then I was at 5 p.m., I went back home, and this woman came up to me. She was like, Tino, come here. And I was like, oh, I fucked up. So I went back, I went in the kitchen, and she opened my cupboard, and she made like a food shop for me. And I was like, oh. So that's the first time I was like, she realized I was struggling so much that I felt like the food, like everything in the food was full of food again. I was like, oh. I remember then I spent just eating everything. And I was like, and then she realized I was basically struggling like crazy. But I remember one thing. I discovered that time. I discovered uh, barbecue sauce. I never tried barbecue sauce in my life. So every
Nice.
night before I would go to bed, I would just squeeze like a big chunk of like barbecue sauce straight into my
Straight
mouth.
sugar, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, because I didn't want to get caught from them, so I would just straight into my mouth, and then every now and then I would steal some Yorkshire pudding, like Yorkshire pudding, like they were like frozen Yorkshire pudding. So
Okay.
I would take one, I would squeeze one like a barbecue sauce in my mouth, one into the Yorkshire pudding. I would go upstairs, wait into the frosted, and then I just eat it. That was my dinner for like months.
Whoa. So okay, this is interesting though. Like it feels like you really had a kind of an idealistic idea of how to do things, but also because you did have like a great plan to do this, you were just going to show up and they were going to take you on the team and that was going to be the story. But when that didn't happen, you also had what seemed to me like a really strong drive, and you weren't afraid to kind of to go through the hard times either, like because these sound like crazy times. So how did you okay, what was the next step? I mean, I don't mean to interrupt your story. I'm just being like, wow, this guy doesn't, you didn't quit very quickly at all. Like
Mm.
most people, a lot of people would have quit by then. So you didn't quit at all.
So
Like what was keeping you going?
the option was I can go back home, and that's a big failure. Because before I left, I was gonna. The plan was I'm gonna be fluent in English and be a football player. So the football player is not happening. Okay, it's fine, but at least I want to learn English. I want to be able to learn English. So I started working, and again, when you're kitchen porter, I was small in the kitchen by myself, so I wasn't able to speak to anyone. So the only conversation I would pick up was when I was with the family, and I would try to listen. And
There,
4 months later,
did
I
they
started
have
learning.
Jamaican accents when you were learning English? Oh my
That's the
God.
problem. 4 months later, I started picking up slangs and things, and I became like a white guy sounding Jamaican. Which, if you go to the show to the market with this woman, with a middle-aged woman of color, next to a young guy, white with a Jamaican accent, it seems like I'm trying to make fun of her, which I wasn't. It was just literally me. I was part of, like, I was a baby in English, so I was like picking up the slangs,
Yeah.
and I was fully Jamaican. Like, like literally, they told me like to put like cream on my body, like body cream and like castor oil on my hair. I was just like literally, I'm full on Jamaican, just white. And I'm
That's
like,
amazing.
but then people were like, "Wow, why do you sound Jamaican?" I was like, "Well, this is what's going on." And they're like, "Man, you gotta stop. You, you
You
need to
gotta
hang out with some
stop.
man. You need to hang out with some Italians. You need to get your fucking Italian accent back, man."
I was going to ask you about that. Now that you have learned English, is being Italian kind of like a superpower? Because I sometimes when you transpose yourself from, wherever, if you're in Italy, you're in Firenze, everybody's Italian, everybody speaks the same, you're kind of the same. If you displace yourself and you've learned English obviously since then, and not just the Jamaican version, but you've got a couple versions, but you have your Italian accent in England, that gives you sort of what I guess an exotic sort of
Oh,
vibe. Does that help?
yeah, it becomes like a superpower. It becomes like a personality. I don't have to say anything anymore. People look at me like, "Yeah, I'm Italian." They be like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's justified. I can get away with loads of stuff. I can
Like
get
what?
away with loads of stuff." And it works. It works. And then obviously, I don't know why, like British women love accent, especially like Italian accent, Spanish accent. So you become automatically a lot more attractive for no apparent reason. So what I always tell people, like, according to my experience, we don't. There are no ugly people in this world. We just live in the wrong country.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. If you feel ugly in your country, be the foreigner. You're gonna become a lot more attractive.
Very true.
That's,
Very
that's why
true.
I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back home.
too
I,
many good too many good looking
yeah.
people in Italy, I think.
Yeah,
It's the major
here,
competition.
exactly. Here I have no competition. Over there, oh man, I'm below average. So I need to stick. I need to stick here.
It's true. I was watching a documentary on what is it called? Like Calcio Storico or Calcio
Mm-hmm.
Storico, which is like the historical football, but you fight as
Yeah,
well
you
in
find.
Firenze.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen that you do boxing. Have you? Do you know anything? Do you know about this? Like, how these dudes look like full on gladiators, but also supermodels. So I could see that being a difficult place to come from.
It's such a weird sport. So basically, I decided to play football, but in the meantime, it's like a proper fight going on. So and they train the entire year, and it's like different. It's like four different neighbors. So every year they go like four different teams and they challenge themselves. And then people obviously they wanted to win because it's like everyone to be proud of it. So they start recruiting different type of like foreign. They start recruiting foreigners, which they're not allowed. Now they're not allowed anymore. They changed the rule.
Oh,
So one day, one year, one team recruited this guy that was like MMA. Like it was like an MMA athlete, and he got the shit kicked out of him straight away
whoa!
because the entire team they just jumped on this guy because they knew he could do damage. So the tactic was like, look, we kill this guy first, and then we think about the game. And literally, the entire team just went on this guy. I mean, the rules were not clear at that moment. But then after that, now they say you need to be able to, you have to be, I think, born in Florence in order to play the game, in order to play.
I think that's kind of the idea, though, right? At least from my perspective, is this sort of just like a historical thing, and people from the different neighborhoods essentially coming together to do this game and do this tournament. It's so it would kind of be away from the spirit of the thing. I think if
Yeah,
you just got a bunch of outside people to try to win, that does seem
that's it.
because it's a
Yeah.
historical thing. But yeah, so I don't know. I've never seen a game live. Have you seen the games live, or but you're a football player? Maybe you played it. I don't know.
No, no, because I was born and I grew up in Sicily, in South Italy.
Oh, okay.
So it becomes a lot harder when you're not from there to get tickets. It's like extremely expensive, but mainly it's not a huge arena. It's like a couple of thousand people maybe. So the ticket just go on sale straight away. It's more like family and friends, like straight away.
Understandable.
Unless and also it's in July or August. I'm not sure. It's really hot, like
Yeah.
extremely hot. And it's in the middle of a square, and I was like, I'm not doing that.
No, for sure. The
No,
Piazza Santa Croce, I think, right?
that's the Santa Croce. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the one. I'm like, no, I'm not staying there.
I have not been to. Do you say Sicily or Sicily when you? Because I know we say
Okay,
Sicily all the time, but some people say Sicily, right?
so the real one is in English, obviously Sicily, but the Italian version is like Sicilia.
Sicilia. Oh, it's like Sicilia.
Yeah, Sicilia.
I'm making you give me a Italian lesson, but
Italian lessons, yeah.
this is like just a scam to make you teach me Italian, I guess. But but
Amazing.
yeah, no, I know a little bit of this because maybe about 15 years ago I've never been to Sicily, but I did go. I have been to some of the places like Sorrento and Capri.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
really nice places. Also, Firenze and Roma and Pompeii and this kind of stuff. Like all the touristy kind of places I've been to some time ago. So yeah, like it's the best. Was that?
Did you go to Venice?
I didn't go to Venice or Milan, so
Oh,
I missed.
Milan is alright, but as a tourist, you have to go to Venice because that's the thing. It's always like Venice, Florence, Rome, Sorrento, Naples. That's it.
Yeah, everybody does it.
Don't care about the rest.
We already didn't have that much money, and we were kind of like going crazy at the time. It took us a long time to like pay back the trip in the first place. Like, we were a little bit like you in that regard. We were just like, we gotta go on a vacation, and we're gonna go to Italy and Greece. We went to Athens and Santorini in Greece as well while we were there. It's just like we were super broke after and in debt, but we did it. It was worth it because it's wonderful.
That's the plan. I always tell people sometimes like money comes and goes. But sometimes you gotta do things that you think it's the right time. Maybe you don't have the money. Just try to do it. Obviously, don't do like extra luxury or whatever, but do it if you think it's the right time. But
Hmm.
obviously, if like certain things, not just buy a random car just because you fancy a car. You know.
It's the time.
I feel like I feel like I want to drive.
It's Lamborghini time. So it
That's the
turned
one.
it turned out it was Lamborghini time. So I got it, and it's like, well, they're taking it. It's a tow truck. They're taking it. But
White, white, a convertible Lamborghini. That's the car.
that's the one. Is that your dream car?
Yeah, that's the
Really?
one where I'll say, yeah, I made it when I can afford it. I get to the point the more I'm growing, the more I'm like, I wouldn't even spend those money on it. But I always promise myself, like since I was a kid, I was like, I'm never gonna own a car unless it's a Lambo. So
Oh,
I'm like 10 years old now, and I never own a car
really?
unless it's yeah. I refuse. That's
That
it.
you have
So
a strong drive. I think, well, not even a strong drive, but like a strong sense of what's the word that I'm looking for? Like an inner core values or something, because you're like,
mm,
this is what I'm set to do. This is what I'm going to do. I feel like
yeah,
is kind of your this is what
that's
I'm
it.
getting here.
And
Wow.
these few things that I'm like, and I tell people as well, I share with people, I'm like, these few things that if you see me doing it, it means I told myself. And
Oh,
maybe I'm not going, I shouldn't say this, but fuck it. If you see me driving a Mercedes, I told myself. I don't
really?
like it. Unless it's like a really like vintage car, which is different. That's a different level. But like a regular Mercedes, no, 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 no.
Wow.
No, it's
It
not for me.
has to be a Lamborghini then.
It used to be a
Is
Lamborghini
there
or like a
any level that's not you haven't sold your soul, but there's a good reason or something? Is there any reason where you would change your mind, or is it like, nope, I don't care if I live in the country, I'm driving a Lamborghini and that's it?
I will say the SUV of the Lambo. Oh, I will say maybe like a Range Rover.
Okay.
Just because it's pretty safe, like SUV. But then apart from that, I'm like, which probably again, I won't even buy it. But me knowing that I can afford it or I can rent it out one, I'm like, okay, that's already enough for me.
Okay, I understand. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I
Because
kind of what's that?
it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money anyway. I mean, a car is a car.
It
It's just
is.
for me. I was a kid. I was like, I gonna because I always told my mom. I always told, and she always be like, stop dreaming, stop dreaming.
Oh, okay.
So every conversation I had, I'm like, I'm gonna get everyone in my Lambo except you. Um, so, and even when I was a kid, I was like, I was a kid, I was like, I'm gonna make money. Mom was like, stop dreaming. So I'm like, we're gonna go to a nice fancy restaurant, all sitting together. You, table apart.
You have to sit over here.
You sit over there, you get a sandwich.
That's true though. Not everybody believes in a dream, and sometimes family is it's tough to convince them that you're gonna be the guy. That's for
Yeah.
sure. But so, man, I realized I cut you off too, like because you got to this point where speaking of your dream that you're working on right now. Um, you got to the point where you're cooking, you're eating Yorkshire frozen Yorkshire pudding with barbecue sauce as your top meal. And so, how did you get to where you are now? Like, what happens next?
So there was Christmas, right? And then first Christmas I'm gonna spend apart in my house in 18 years. First Christmas I spend with a Jamaican family, and then it's New Year's. And on New Year's there was this guy that every time I was kitchen porter, there was like no one would talk to me. No one would talk to me. This one guy, only one guy, that every time he walked by, he'd be like, "Hey, ciao, tutto bene?" And he just walked by. He was the only guy, and I was like, "Hey." And then again, ciao, tutto bene? And I started seeing this guy as a like, and I was like, this guy's polite. I like him. Like, this is my people. And then one day he was like, tutto bene? And I stopped him. I was like, yeah, tutto bene. I'm having a trouble with my payslip. I don't understand what's going on. And this guy looked at me. I was like, "Oh, I'll speak Italian." I'm like, "You fucking piece of shit!" Like I thought, and turns out he was Venezuelan, and to my days, he's my best friend
Oh wow.
now. So he asked me like, "What are you doing? We're trying to communicate." And he was like, "What?" And then we got an Italian guy that was trying to translate for us. He was like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And this guy basically he saw me as a the younger version of him because he did the same thing he did. He went through. I was going through the same thing 10 years earlier. So from there, it was like, man, just keep going. And then he was the bar manager. Sorry. So I was working as a kitchen porter with the external agency. And this guy was like the bar manager. And he was like, "Do you want to?" It was New Year's Eve. He was like, "Do you want a job? Do you want to work for us? Like direct in the company?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Perfect. So what you do now was the New Year's Eve, right?" So it was like on the 3rd of January, or go to the agency, give your resign letter, resign from them, and then you're gonna work for us. You're gonna be a barback.
Okay, classic. Yeah.
I was like, "That's amazing." I was like, "Thank you." Things are start going. So I got excited. I go on the 3rd of January. I go to the agency. I just give I resign, and he didn't call me. So now I have no jobs. I have no money, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like literally, because I didn't have enough money to. How I remember, I only had £100 left, and it was the beginning of January. And every time I would get obviously the tube, it would cost me £35 to get the weekly pass. So I was like, okay, I have no money. Like again, it's game over. I have nothing. So I stayed in my house for like a week. I would go to the park, train myself, just go for a walk, and I go back to my house. I didn't have his phone number. I didn't have anyone. I didn't have anything. So I was like, what's going on? The phone is not ringing. And then the second week, the phone is like, there's a ring. And then the third week of January, it rang. It was like, hey, are you still looking for a job? I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, perfect. Come on Monday. I was like, perfect. I was like, what's the uniform? I was like, oh, do you have a white shirt? I was like, no. I was like, do you have like brown trousers? I was like, no. Do you have brown like shoes? And I was like, no. I was like, you need that. And then you can do your trial shift. So I was even sure I was going to get the job. So I was like, fuck. So I literally had, with 70 quid that, I had like 50 quid left. I spent £35 for my travel. And then I spent all the rest for like a pair of shoes, trousers, and a t-shirt and a shirt. I went through the trial shift. The trial shift went awful. But the first part of the trial shift went great. So the first part of the trial shift went great, and they put me to the office there. I signed the contract. I went back to the bar, and literally I dropped an entire train of glasses on the floor, like on a posh restaurant. And I can't hold glasses. I'm like really shit at this. And it was a really fancy, high-end restaurant. I'm like cocktail bar restaurant. I was like, oh, am I gonna get fired? So I did not get fired. I did not get fired. And then from there again, first 2 weeks, deposit. I don't know. And they took us deposit again. And that's the moment again I start eating bread and butter. And then from there, then remember the struggle ended at the end of February, I think. Towards the end of February, I was like, oh wow, okay, good things are happening now. Because I hit the rock bottom. So there's no, do you know when you say the drive? It's not the drive. It's like when you hit rock bottom, it's like you can't get any worse than that.
You have nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get worse, I die. Which that was the thing, like, because when you have no food, no family, no friends, you have nothing. You can't get any worse.
That's true. Then, you're basically at the bottom. So how do you deal with that situation? Like what's your take once you've reached the bottom? Is it sort of positive that where you're saying, well, okay, this is as bad as it can be, so I guess things are gonna have to go a better direction? Or
I'm loving it at the moment. I'm like, okay, I'm at the bottom, and I'm comfortable. And I changed my mind about a lot of things in life. I know now what's important is all about have enough money just to have food, have like a roof, being like over your head, and just treat people nice. That's it. And it just changed completely my value. In the meantime, I was still 19. So I would work in this high-end cocktail bar restaurant and in Liverpool streets, like in London, so the financial district. So I see everyone like money, like loads of money, like loads of money, beautiful girls, people like popping bottles of champagne, whiskey. And I would go there straight. You know, like people like kind of like when you see those type of people like old middle-aged men, you don't really talk to them because they're really important. Like I would go there to the table, but like literally no English. Sorry, sir, what do you do for a living? And the guy was like, "What the fuck is going on?" I was like, "I'm a CEO. I'm a CEO." And I was like, "What did you study?" And he was like, "Finance." I was like, "Thank you." And I just walk out. And I'll do that with every single person. And then I was like,
amazing.
"Okay." I was like, "Okay, I want to study finance. I'm gonna get my English right. I'm gonna study finance." And 1 year later, I went to uni, study finance.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, because I thought there was the money.
It's true
I
though. If you
want
want to know about money, studying finance is not the worst plan. That
the thing.
it's very
And again,
straightforward. This idea.
yeah, I wanted to be rich. I didn't care. I just didn't want to struggle anymore. I didn't care about the right. I just want to be rich. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be rich. Okay, I had to study finance. That's what I have to do. But because I had this obsession for money,
Hmm.
I started running a cocktail bar where I was the manager,
Oh.
but I was still work. I would still do uni full time. So I moved up north to Leeds. And when you move up from London, you go. I had like a decent CV because I started, and then I spent 1 more year like where I was like a bartender. So when I moved in Leeds, people saw me and I was, oh, this is good. He knows what he's doing. So I started working my way up from like barback again to head bartender to manager in this cocktail bar, and then I started working full time. So I would do 8 a.m., 3 p.m. uni, 3 p.m., 2 a.m. a cocktail bar for like 5 years straight, like no stop. But then the moment I was like, oh, I don't think I want to be rich. I don't know what it's about. I love the attention that I get when I work in a cocktail bar. The feeling, I don't know, but it's not about the money. So after I finished the 5 years of uni, I went 1 year when traveling Southeast Asia
Oh,
to
nice.
find myself because I'm white.
No, for sure. No, you
Uh,
have to. You have to. You have to do it.
I had to find myself.
Because
You
you're
know,
just
that's the only place. That's the
so.
only place you can find yourself.
Oh, it's amazing. So, well, like, what, like Vietnam or the
Yeah.
Philippines or
So I did Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, Bali. I did all of them,
whoa, all beautiful places though too, and it's mostly all places I haven't been. I've only really in Asia. I've only really been to Japan. So
which was the most expensive one. Once you get Japan out of the way, the rest is very cheap.
that's what I've
Very,
heard.
very,
Yeah.
very cheap. Like I remember 1 year I spent like £6,000 in 1 year. Like not even
Whoa,
that. 6,000 pounds, two people. It was just like ridiculous.
that's amazing. So, well,
Yeah,
did you find yourself though?
yeah, man. I found myself, and I was like, I was trying to find myself, and the moment I think I lost my, because from working full time and studying full time to literally had nothing to do. That's when your mind start going crazy because I start thinking about what's next. I always work for like a big goal, and once I achieved it, I was like, what's next now? What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And that and at the time also with my ex, she was Spanish, and she was like, I think why don't we move somewhere else? So we moved to Florence.
Oh, oh, that's how you were in. Okay.
That up in Florence, and I got a job in a corporate for like from May till this January. I got a job in corporate, and then in December we broke up with that. So I was like, I don't want to be me. I hate Italy. I genuinely like. I hate living in Italy. I don't hate Italy. I hate living in Italy. So
Okay.
I
I'm
was like, I
curious
need
as
to
to
get out.
why. Like, what that was something. I'll ask you it later though, because I don't want to derail
Yeah.
your story now. But I am interested in what the difference is, like why England versus Italy, etc. But so you were
Okay.
there. You got. But yeah.
And then and then I was like, okay, I broke up with her in December. It's January. I was like, okay, I'm fucking off. I'm going back to whatever. I'm going maybe to Australia. I don't know where yet. In that moment, and then I go, and then COVID happened. And that moment COVID happened, before COVID happened, I had this big corporate they offered me a job. Bear in mind, I never done the role they were asking for, but because I made a mistake on LinkedIn, they think I'm the guy. It's a huge corporate. It's a huge corporate. I'm like, and at that time for my old agency, I had this guy that was my mentor, and I was Marco. This corporate just asked me, they want me as this guy, and we're like, how? I was like, I don't know, but that was his role. So I remember him training myself. He was training me for 3 weeks just for the interview. So it would just basically learn how to do a job on paper. I could do the job interview. I did the job interview, got the job. Then I did 1 year of COVID, whatever happened, I still got the job. And then I remember in April, I was like, bear in mind, this job is. So I was in Florence. They gave me a free car, insurance for free, petrol for free, even for private use. I had lunch and dinner allowance paid for. And every day they will give me £10 to buy food, like a food shop.
Amazing.
The job is the best job in the world. Like you can't complain. It's everyone's dream. Like the dream job for most Italians. I'm 27 at the time, making so much money. I'm single. I'm loving the life. But every morning I go back. Every night I go back home. I'm not feel fulfilled. If it makes sense.
Yep.
I would look at my bank account. I'm like, yes. In the meantime, because I still need I would work from Monday to Friday corporate on the field because I was in sales. In Friday night, Saturday, I was still working a cocktail bar in Florence in the city center because I needed that. Because I needed the kind of approach with people. I don't know like what I needed, but I feel like something was missing. So I always work in a cocktail bar. And then I was like, no, this is it. I don't know what it is, but I'm not feeling fulfilled. There must be something. There must be something. And obviously because COVID happened. When COVID happened, I was like, I don't want to do this. This is not my life. I don't want to make money. I just want to be happy. And I thought about, I started reading books and I started thinking about whatever I could do. And then every time I would look back on something that I was really happy or something that happened, I was performing in my life all the time. I was like as if I was performing and as if I was always on a stage. And bear in mind, I have to tell you something. Since I was a kid, since I was like 4 years old, the first dream I remember, it's me on a stage kicking balls to the crowd for no reason.
Oh, wow.
Such a weird dream. I had this dream till I was 28 years old. From till I'm 4 till I'm 28 years old. I have this dream pretty much every night. Me on a stage kicking a ball just towards people, like in a nice way. Do you know what I mean? Not like just like
not trying to nail them in the head or something. Yeah, okay.
Exactly, but like in a nice way, just like thank you, and just kick balls. And I'm like, and I never thought about this dream, never. And then I start thinking COVID happened. I don't know. And I'm like, you know what? I want to entertain people. So I'm like, when COVID is over, I'm gonna move to LA. I'm gonna become an actor. That's my brain. And I'm like, I was like, all right, cool. So I start planning things. Gonna move to LA. I'm gonna become a. Bear in mind, I had never done anything about like entertainment. No performances. Never. I'm shy. Like before we started this podcast, I was upstairs in my house recording self-tape.
Oh, really?
Man, I'm fucking awful at this shit. I recorded 2-3 self-tape because my agent is good and I got a good headshot. And my face is pretty decent. But I don't get jobs because I'm shit. You know what I mean? I'm trying to act, I'm winging it. But I'm not an actor. I'm not a trained actor.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm going to become an actor. I'm going to study acting. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then because I never thought about stand up. I would watch comedians, but I never had an idea what was the path to become a comedian. And then I was like, no, I want to be a comedian. This is who I am. I always entertain people in my classroom, in my house. I always make jokes. So I'm a comedian. I just didn't know how to go about that. So I remember it was Easter. I went back to Sicily, speak to my family, and I'm like, everyone, that moment, everyone is so proud of me in my house because I achieved the job that everyone's in Italy want, and I got it, and I didn't even want it.
It's incredible. It seemed like this is already just incredible. We kind of just went right over that, but it's like you didn't actually have the qualifications for the job originally.
No, at
It
all.
was a mistake, but you still made it work and you did well. It sounded like you excelled anyway in this job and you were killing it. And so now you're kind of in this situation that you never really necessarily planned to be in, or that you didn't even really necessarily want to be in. That's why you had to talk to yourself so much about this. And now you're back home and everyone's proud of you like you were hoping for, I guess, that you were, this is what you wanted, that your family to be like, oh, amazing, Tino, thank you for doing this.
Oh.
You did a great job. We love you. And now what happens? Like, how do you deal with that?
And now it's Easter, and I have to tell my family that in 2 weeks I'm fucking off back to the London. So I remember I was in this hotel room by the beach in what was that in Marche, which is the east coast in Italy. It's Marche Abruzzo.
I know where that is. Like, was San Benedetto near there?
Yeah,
Or, oh,
exactly. I was like in San Benedetto. I was there.
okay.
I was there, and I was in a hotel, this fancy hotel that obviously the company would pay me because then I would work in Tuscany and I would do Tuscany, Umbria, Marche, Abruzzo. I was everywhere. I was the guy, right? And I was there in a hotel room, and I was like, man, and this was like literally 1 week before Easter, and I was like, this is not it. This is not it. And one of my best friends, he used to work in London, and he was the manager of this bar. Because bear in mind, when I started Leeds first, I trained everyone in that bar. They all become my best friend, and I trained all of them. Now those guys, I left when traveling. Those guys, they stay in the company, so they all become general manager of every single different place. So now they're my best friends, but they got like good roles, good positions. So I was talking to this guy, and I was like, man, what's going on? I was like, man, you're living the life, you're loving it. And I'm like, no. I was like, if you get me, like, I was like, man, I'll be honest with you. If I could wash glasses again, I would go back to wash glasses in London tomorrow.
Wow.
He messaged me a couple of hours. And he's like, they're laughing, like a laughing emoji. And I was like, no, I'm serious. If you need a kitchen porter or whatever you need, I'm there next week. He calls me. He was like, are you being for real? I was like, yes. I was like, look, I can't offer any head bartender position, any bartender. I can only make a bar back. You gotta wash glasses for like 12 hours a day. I was like, okay, see you next week. And he was like, and he messaged me. I was like, are you sure what you're doing is the right thing? He was like, man, are you sure? And I was like, yes, I'm gonna move to the UK and I'm gonna become a stand-up comedian. And he was like, I didn't tell him, but my plan was
that
like,
was in your mind.
I need to do anything to get out of Italy. I want to become a stand-up comedian. I want to do anything. And then I was like, I went back to it for Easter. I went back to Sicily, and I told the beautiful news. We had a nice meal with my family, and I'm like, guys, this is beautiful. I'm moving back to the UK. And therefore, I had the promotion with my corporate. And they were like, oh, things are going well. I was like, no, I'm leaving the corporate. And they were like, what? And I'm like, to do what? I was like, well, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to be a comedian. Like, bear in mind, in Italy, the comedy doesn't exist. It's more like a theatrical one. Like, like an actor, right? There's more like opera. It's more like a musical thing. There's no a guy holding a mic. It's never been seen in Italy.
Not like a stand-up comedian. It's not the same thing.
It's not a thing.
In French, the word like comedian means actor more
exactly.
than... Oh, is it similar?
Same. Doesn't exist. So my mom was like, what were you doing, sorry? I was like, you don't know, but I'm going to be a comedian. Like, I was like, I know it sounds weird, but I'm gonna be a comedian. And he was like, but what do you do? What's your job? I was like, I don't know yet. I don't know anything about this. I know there goes something going on, but I need to leave Italy. And he was like, oh, I should, like the lucky thing for me is I go parents day. Man, not this time. Like now, I left when I was 18, right? Now I'm like 27. I've done 9 years. Anything, I always wing it. Somehow, I always achieve what I wanted. So they're aware. I'll be like, you do you. We support you no matter what. We don't think it's the right decision because you have no idea what's going on. But do you? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I told my manager, but I did have the balls to tell her that I was going to quit to become a comedian. So I told her that I was going to Australia. I was moving to Australia to take care of my grandma.
You just made up a story.
and and then this call, bear in mind, look how bad they want me. They were like, okay, cool. Can we offer you a sabbatical? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, basically, you don't get paid, but you still keep your position. So for 1 year, you can come back. So if it didn't work out, the comedy thing would be fine. I could come back. But no, my watch in terms like if I'm going for something, I don't want a plan B. Because
You don't want to have the. You might, if you have a fallback plan, you might fall back. Yeah.
if you go fallback, you're gonna. If you have in mind that you can have a fallback, you'll be like, oh, worst case scenario when things don't go well, I go back. I'm like, no, I'm quitting. And they were like, but we're offering a sabbatical. Like you can quit in 1 year. I was like, no, I'm quitting now. And then she was like,
awesome.
you know, and she was like, you gotta start thinking about what you want to do when you grow up. And I was like, thank you. Again, I understand because no one with a bit of sanity will do something like that.
Wow.
Then I moved to London.
And started. Did you just start going to open mics, or how did that kick in?
That's fucking awful, man. Like I have no idea. So I started do a course. The first approach, I do a course, like 8 weeks course with the final showcase. But the guy that's doing the course, it's not a comedian. Like it's somehow I think maybe performed in the 90s. I don't know what he did, or maybe did a few sketches for like a BBC, whatever. But basically, I'm trying to express my art. But he's been telling me like, Tino, you can't do that. You can't say this word. You can't say that. And I'm like, I think like we should be able to say anything. It was like, no, you can't do this. People don't like this. People don't like that. So I was trying to express myself, but I couldn't. So that was my first approach. So I was like, the C word. I wasn't allowed to say the C word. And then I go on an open mic, and this guy, first 3 seconds in, he dropped the C word. I'm like, what am I doing then? And then I started going to the open mic. But again, I was working the cocktail bar for my friend. That was July. I was working cocktail, so at night time, so I could not do it.
Yeah, it's the same time frame basically.
Yeah.
They're open at the same times. Those like a comedy club and any other kind of bar.
Yeah, so I invented another job. I just pretended. I went on my LinkedIn. I need my free nights. I need to be free at night. So I invented that I was a recruiter.
Oh.
And I got a job as a recruiter.
That's so awesome, dude.
so I could do gigs at night. So I got my job in October, and I would spend all day on the phone. Bear in mind, I was very shit. Like I hated this job. I'm just doing so at night I can gig. And also in London, to gig is called bringers. So you have to bring someone. In order to perform, you need to bring someone with you.
Oh, I see. You have to like a friend come, so they buy some drinks or something.
Yes, you gotta have someone. But at this moment, I haven't told anyone that I'm a comedian.
Okay.
No, none of my friends knows. They think I'm doing a course. I'm learning Spanish. This is what they are thinking.
Were you embarrassed to tell them? Is that why you told? Okay.
100%. I was like, no way. And then again, like this job is killing me. Like I finish at 7 p.m. and people are like, Tino, you gotta perform. And I'm like, man, I can't perform. I hate this job. I'm not good at it. Like I don't. And I did in October, November, December, and then in January I quit. And I was like, look, guys, this is not working. And they were like, "Yeah, we feel so. You were not going to pass your probation period anyway."
They were like, we agree.
They were like, "Thanks, fuck for that."
We're 100% on the same page about this.
And I was like, "Guys, do you want me to come to the office tomorrow and bring the equipment, like the laptop?" And I'm like, "No, no, 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 it's fine. Just put it in a box. We'll come and collect it." So they didn't allow me to even go back to the office. I was like, "I understand. I understand." And I went to work in a cafe in the morning. And then still doing, man, my story is too long. I gotta find a way to make it short.
No, it's
Actually,
okay. This is this is okay. I know we've talked for a while, but like still, it's interesting. I think I find the context with just being like you're basically a teenager, you're going to be a football star, and you just leave to go to England to make this happen is already crazy. And so I don't think you can remove that many details. That's why I like a podcast, because we can talk. Like I again don't feel like you're in a rush unless you have something else to do or you have somewhere else
oh,
to
no,
go.
I'm okay. I'm good. Okay, okay, okay.
I'm not like trying to rush you at all. I know I have a basic timeline. I talked to somebody for 6.5 hours the other day. We don't have to do that, but I have a flight attendant named Allie. She works for Emirates Airlines, and
Oh,
we were talking. She did this, but she has all these dreams and different stuff too. A lot of dreamers on this show. So
was also jet lag. So 6 hours for her, it was like 45 minutes. She had, she had no clue at the time.
no, definitely not. I mean, and she's a streamer as well on Twitch. And the thing about
Okay.
Twitch streaming is sometimes it goes long, you know? So don't
Mm-hmm.
worry about it. I'm not rushing you. Your story is
Okay,
what it
okay,
is.
perfect.
I'm totally cool
Okay.
with it. And I'm enthralled actually by it, because I love it when somebody has the dream, but also kind of the guts to do the dream. Cause that's the hard part really, where you're like, okay, things are going to go badly maybe for a while, and I'm fine with that. That's the part nobody's usually fine with. It's like
Oh, yeah.
it's the part where people are like, oh, this was supposed to go perfectly. It's not, so I'm gonna quit. Like you quitting the job and saying they gave you the option to have a year off, and like they want you did such a good job. I guess they liked you there so much, and and yet you were like, look, if that happens, if things get tough for me, I know that's like a lot of self-awareness in my opinion.
Subconsciously,
Yeah,
subconsciously, you have an option.
you know you can give up. And stand-up comedy is one of the hardest things to do, because I think there's just so many years of things not going well. Am I right about that? Like every time I've
100%.
seen like a famous stand-up comedian, they're like, well, it was about, oh, I've been doing stand-up for 15 years. They just started to get noticed now, kind of
Yeah,
thing. So this is not a like a
I
passing
think
fancy if you want to do this.
it's not a thing. You gotta have love. So that's the thing. I started doing gigs in London, but I hated London. And then I went, that was March, February, May. I went full on. I was like, look, this is what is going to happen. I messaged my girlfriend at that moment. In the meantime, I met my girlfriend. She's my actual girlfriend now. And she was the only one that knew about me doing comedy. So she would be my bringer.
She was
She
the
would come
number
with me
two.
everywhere. So honestly, I'm sorry I put her through all that fucking shit, man. Honestly, all the open mics. And she was, I see her, I'm like, there must be love. Because obviously I'm shy. I'm really bad. And she was like, and she thinks like, this guy, what is he doing? Like, you know what I mean? And I had to go through, like, I have to learn how to be able to be understood properly, because I've got a strong accent, all this stuff. And I'm just bombing and awful gigs and everything. And then I remember me messaging, because from my first gig on the 29th of July till mm, till December, I've done 7 gigs.
Okay.
Nothing. Then January went by, and then I remember in January I sent a message. I was like, "So this." I took a screenshot. I still have it. I saw this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go crazy from February on. I'm gonna go crazy till August. I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna do 150 gigs. Once I'm gonna go 150 gigs in September, I'm gonna move to New York, and history will be made. That's what my message. So from February to August, I went crazy. I've done 150 gigs. In September, I moved to New York. Randomly happened, and I moved to New York. And I was like, this is what I feel like I have to do. I want to learn. And she was like, yeah, please do it. And I've learned it. And when I moved to New York, and she went fucking south again. No money for food. I'm living in a Brooklyn apartment with no windows. Like a room is just the size of a bed, a single bed, but no fresh air, no windows. And I go to New York and I'm like, everything's so much expensive. I don't have the money for this. The house with no windows, with no fresh air, it cost me like $1,000 a month, the rent.
Crazy.
And I show up to the village to do comedy. I have to pay $5 every time. Every time I have to perform, I have to pay $5, and I can't. And I felt like I'm gonna stay 3 months here because that's my visa. I'm gonna stay 3 months, all the 3 months. But I'm looking for jobs every single day. I'm looking for jobs that they pay like the way they pay, right?
Yeah,
Cash.
I get it.
Can't get anything. Everyone is scared after COVID. Like, we can't do this, we can't do that, and I can't gig. I spent 3 months in New York where I've done maybe 6 gigs.
Jeez. Okay.
And
it's supposed to be the place that, this is New York. There's a million clubs, a bunch of clubs right next to each other. It should have been easy, but the timing just must have been bad.
And the time was bad, and I start thinking again, and I'm like, I love it, I want to live here, but I start self-doubting massively, and I'm like, no, this is not it. I feel like I can do something, but it's not the right time, and I'm pushing, but it's not happening, and the money is not coming, and I'm like, I really want to do. So that's the moment when I'm like, I start doing vlogs. I start doing my vlogs in New York, and I start feeling like, oh, maybe it can be something. It can be something. And bear in mind, I'm like, okay, this is the plan. I made another plan. And I made a huge plan. Okay, that was in November. I was like, I'm going to do a plan. I'm going to move back to Italy, which I hate it. But the plan is, I want to move to New York. Then God is living in New York. So I'm going to move back to Italy, where the stand-up comedy scene is very low. I'm going to become a huge comedian in Italy. I'm going to get a massive following on social media. Then it would be easy for me to get a visa as I don't know, when you have like a massive influence, like as influencer.
Yeah, you're a known person. It's obvious. You have maybe a little bit more credit.
And then I moved back to New York. That was the plan. So I'm struggling. I'm suffering a lot in New York. And that was literally just 2 years ago. I'm struggling. I'm losing weight. I'm losing 10 kilos. I lost 10 kilos in 3 months. I go back home. My mom is like, what happened to you in New York? And I'm like, no, all good. I can't. I weight lift a lot. But I was like, I'll go into running. That was the only way I could justify, And then what happened was, it's December. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a job in Italy again. Despite what I said, I'm going to get a job in Italy again. But this time I'm going to get a job like I used to have, that I get a free car, so I can go gigs every single night. I can kill it in no time. I'm going to be the best. So I started looking for jobs January, February, March, April. I've done 100 job interviews. Most of them, around 20 of them, I was last two candidates, and I not get the job. I didn't get a single job, which is the best thing that never happened. Because in April, end of the first week of May, I was like, you know what? This is not happening. I'm going back to the UK. And I don't like London. I don't like people from London in terms of comedy. I don't know what it's like. I'm going to move to Manchester.
That's how we get to Manchester, Playa di Manchester, huh?
Randomly. I didn't know anyone. I was like, I'm just going to move there. Just comedy. I don't give a fuck about anything else. I just want to do comedy. That's it. And I moved to Manchester last May.
Wow. So that's how we finally get to Manchester.
Yeah.
Which is that was probably the first post I ever saw of yours, was the Playa di Manchester,
Playa di Manchester,
British people burning to death. And bucket hat. That's the only thing you run away from in a bucket hat is responsibility. That's crazy funny. So, so you're in Manchester, and I guess do they have comedy clubs? Is this like a good scene? Okay, It's a good
I
comedy
didn't know
scene.
anyone. I didn't know anyone when I moved there. Between June and December, I ended up doing 100. The plan was like between June and December, I'm gonna do 100 shows. I ended up doing 100 shows between June. In 5 months, I've done 130 shows, so like pretty much every night. And now just things ain't going well. Like no well, I still bomb like crazy. Like oh man, but I'm aware that it's gonna take me 10 years to stop bombing, if it makes sense. But
Okay.
every day I work hard and doing my self tape. Um, I'm represented by two agencies because then acting, I wing it. I got some stuff. Sometimes I get some stuff, sometimes I don't. But I work in a cafe part time. But yeah, I'm just working for just my art.
That's kind of amazing. Like what are okay, so what are some of the skills you're trying to improve at this point? Like cuz I guess first time on stage, what's that like? Whoa.
First time on stage, I was calm. For the first time, I was calm and I was like, there was the showcase after the 8 weeks, of course. I was calm. When I go on stage, I feel like I could see myself. I had like, I don't know, like our bad experience. I could see myself and I was like, yeah, this is where I belong. This
Nice.
is where I belong. And funnily enough, the dream that I had for like 27 years stopped. Although I had the dream anymore.
Whoa, seriously? So your recurring dream that you had from like 4 years old to 28, it ended once you got on stage.
It stopped. From then on, I never again that dream. And I was like, okay, there was my subconscious telling me what my path was. I believe. I like to think about that, but it just stopped. Like literally that night, which I miss it because it's part of myself. That dream is part of myself. Every time before I go to bed, like every night before I fall asleep, I will have the dream. It's for me. That sometimes like I was like, I wish I still had the dream because it's like a part of me. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like it's a huge part of me. It made me feel like comfortable because I knew the dream was a fun dream. Like it wasn't like a nightmare. It was just like me kicking balls, like to a crowd for fun, and it just stopped. And I was like, okay,
I've,
I guess it's the right path. This one then.
I feel like it is. It's so funny how much like stand-up comedy it is too, because you are sort of putting the ball in the audience's court as you tell a joke. It's like here's something I've got. I've cooked it up here, and I'm gonna kick this to you guys and see how things go. And it's
Yeah,
in some ways that way. So it's really crazy how. But since I guess you were planning to be a professional soccer player, that somehow or
connects.
football player, it
No, it's fine. You connect everything.
that's amazing. And so, what are okay? You had a situation where you had a class where this dude was telling you to like be a clean comedian essentially, and he wasn't really a comedian necessarily, and all that. How did you end up learning some of it? Because you mentioned self tape. That's like a skill that you're
Mhm.
doing. Like, what? How did you learn the actual process of becoming a comedian when you were doing this?
There's no, like I said, there's no talent. It's just obsession. It's been proved.
Wow.
And there's something that eventually maybe I would love one day to tell, but in person. But someone that is helping me a lot. He doesn't even know who I am. Joy Diaz. Because
Oh, Joey's
I
amazing.
listen to his
Big Uncle
podcast.
Joey. He's like, hey, cocksuckers.
Stay black. And honestly, and he's helping me. He helped me a lot, especially at the beginning, because I literally all the lessons that he says on his podcast, they tells, I'm going through this. So I'm like, okay, this is it. About a lot less cocaine. No, but all the everything else, I'm like,
no kidnappings and
no
cocaine.
kidnapping, no cocaine. But
Okay.
that's it. Like like I just go rid of the fun part. I just go the boring part. But then I'm like, this is it. Because like there was like one episode where he said, man, if you go for a private gig, get the money first. And people ask me, why they're nice? Get the money first because you never know what happens. And he was like, I go so many times it happened to me because of four people. And then last October, someone booked me privately. Guess what happened? I was like, I should listen to Joy Diaz because he said get the money first. But they're nice people. They'll be fine. The gig didn't go according to plan. It was a private party, birthday, whatever. And then at the end, they were like, "Oh, we can pay you less." You know what I mean? Like they start doing this thing. Then if I listen to Uncle Joy, I'd be like, "Cash first, bitch." Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, it's like because you don't know how that set's going to go necessarily, and people might start to decide they don't want to pay.
it was fucking mental. It was man. It was like a birthday for like this Sicilian guy, in London. It was just mental, and I was like, I looked at my manager and she looked at me. I'm like, what are we even doing here?
That's
It's mental.
crazy. And like, how did? So, I mean, obviously, things tend to build. Obviously, that seems to be part of the thing. Is you started from essentially nowhere, but you have a manager. You are doing auditions and stuff. How did all that come about? Like, how did you meet these people? Like, how does that happen?
Randomly. So my girlfriend, she was like, "What do you wanna do?" I was like, "Look, I wanna be one of the biggest Italian entertainer in the world." I feel like, "How are you gonna do this?" I was like, "Look, I wanna be a comedian. I also wanna do movies. I wanna do things." And I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna apply to become." That's when I first moved into Manchester. When I'm moving back to Manchester last May, I was like, "I'm gonna become an extras in movies because I never know why not." Why meet? Like I don't know, but at least I'm getting there because I genuinely I have no background. I have zero knowledge or anything. The only thing I know is my vlogs that I do, which again it's not that I've learned anything. So I just random things. I'm like I don't know anything. I just want to be an extra. I want to be part of something. I want to learn what happens. Like the crew work, the production. And I moved there. I moved to Manchester on 29th of May, and I applied for this casting agency as an extra. And they asked me for my first job. They asked me to be a stand-in.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
I so like a big role, Amazon production, John Cena, Idris Elba. So John Cena, Idris Elba, like the movie will be out or this year.
Okay.
And that was my first week in Manchester. My first week in Manchester was like, okay, you got to go to Liverpool for 3 days because you have this role as a stand-in in this movie. And I'm like, I'm not meant to do this huge thing at the beginning. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just winging it. And they're like, yeah. And this is what I think what it is. I think like when people say you're lucky, like people say luck doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? I say yes to anything. They can possibly give me a chance.
That makes a lot of sense though, because I mean, yeah, well, people aren't saying you're lucky when you're down in barbecue sauce. That part,
Yeah,
nobody's saying you're lucky then, but you were working towards it during that time too. It's
yeah,
that part of it still counts, just because the good thing eventually happened as you were chipping away at this. That doesn't mean you're only lucky. It is there's some level probably of luck
yeah.
involved that you happen to run into them, but you consist.
Right time. Yeah,
I think it's something that Tim Ferriss says. He talks about how there's a way. It's not all luck, but there is a way that you can create more surface area for luck to stick to, and I think that's
exactly.
that's what you're doing.
And then after that, I was like, what am I? Bear in mind, I grew up with John Cena. John Cena was my idol.
Okay. Were you the stand-in for John Cena specifically, or like were you? Or
No,
I was
man.
like, was he John Cena or Idris Elba? Because I'm like, I don't know if he matches either of these guys. But no offense, but I'm like, you're the exact same height as Idris Elba. Perfect stand-in.
That guy's tall,
He's
he's
big.
big. John Cena is huge. I'm like, for me, it was a hero. Like when I was a kid, I had two heroes. One was like my local DJ, my hometown, and one was John Cena. And I was like, this is such a weird thing. And I met John Cena. I was like, what? This is a weird thing. I was like, I belong here. And somehow, I'm getting this thing that whatever I dreamed since I was a kid is happening somehow in a different way. And I find it very romantic. And from there, I was like, I'm going to become an extra in movies. So I applied for anything and I started getting like loads of jobs as an extra. And then I contacted these agents and I was like, are you looking more? She saw my headshot. She was like, are you more interested in commercials? I was like, fuck yeah. She was like, do you have acting experience? I was like, fuck no. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm a stand-up comedian. I mean, again, a shitty one yet, but still.
You're still doing it.
But
You're up on stage. You're doing it.
now,
There's a
I
crowd.
was,
I'm down.
yeah. And then she signed me, and then I got a job, and I started getting small jobs, and then I didn't like the way they were being, and I was like, because she was like, if you sign for us, you can only stay with us. He said we are an exclusive, but they were not giving enough jobs, and I'm like, this is not working. So I got in touch with an agency in London. Bear in mind, at this moment, so this is gonna sound weird. So one day, I don't really use social media. One day I was on Facebook and I saw this random thing like, oh, apply for this casting thing. And I was like, you know what, I apply. I get a phone call a couple of weeks later. It was like, hey, Concetto, we saw you applied for this, and we want to see you, like, what type of improv you have, like, because you say you're a comedian. But basically, what happened is I ended up doing a TV show for Comedy Central, like last October.
Amazing.
So I filmed that, and that gave me a bit of leverage. So the the TV show just started airing like last week. It's every Monday live, every Monday on Comedy Central for like, and I'm the only one with another guy. I'm the only one. I'm in every single episode for 2 seasons, for 10 seasons, like 2 seasons, 10 episodes. I'm the only one, me and this guy. And it gave me leverage. So I started emailing like agencies and also, look, I'm doing this, and then I got this, and I got TV credit randomly. I managed to get TV credit, and they were like, oh, cool. So I got on board with this other agency. And the other agency from London, they actually send me like self-tape loads, but they always ask like American accent. I'm like, baby, I can only do a Jamaican one, but trust me, I'm not allowed to. But I was like, and again, I'm winging it. So I'm winging it. That's what it is. And last week I was tired. It was a long, busy day. I did like 3 gigs. I went back home. It was like a midnight, and I started doing this self-tape. And this self-tape, it was for a big, decent thing. But again, like I didn't have what they were looking for. I was like, look, I'm not very Catholic, so I asked God, I was like, just give me an agency that gives me like self-tape, like give me a chance. So every time I get a self-tape, I gotta do it, even if I believe I don't, like, it's not my thing, because if I ask for something, I get it, and then I don't do it. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? I respect the universe. They give me a chance. I'll do the self-tape anyway, even if they were looking for something weird. It was at 1 a.m. on a Sunday, tired. I did the self-tape. They emailed 3 days later, go, we want to see you again. And I'm like, how? It was the shittest self-tape I ever seen in my life, literally. I just did it because I didn't want to fuck with the people up.
Yeah, you asked God for something, they gave it to you, and you said, okay, well, I better follow through, but this isn't going to happen.
But I did it just because, like, literally, guys, I'm Tino, like, literally nothing, and they loved it. I'm like, okay, wow, okay, this is a sign that doesn't matter how tired you are. If you ask for something, you commit that. So today I've just done my recall tape. I'm going to send it and see what happens. Okay. But again, I'm not trained. I need a lot of luck days. Again, I'm not trained. I'm just winging it. Everything I'm winging it. But I'm getting better, apparently. But
well, I get the impression that that's working for you, though. Just like from your entire story, you've been winging it from day one on a bunch of different things, and you figured out how to say, I want a job, and that's it in English, and that was enough to get you a job and get you going and get to this stage now, which is incredible. So winging it might be your way.
And I get paid. I'm getting to the stage now. I'm starting getting to like paid job in terms of stand-up comedy. Oh. It's like for someone that could not speak English to get paid to be on a stage to tell jokes in English.
In England?
It's impossible.
This is crazy, dude. This is crazy.
Impossible. It's impossible. Like I'm like literally 12 years ago, if someone told me like when I could not find the luggage, when I was reclaiming the luggage in Gatwick, they'd be like, okay, it's fine. Everything's gonna be fine in 12 years. In 12 years from now, you're gonna do comedy and people are gonna pay you to hear your jokes in English. I'd be like, stop taking MDMA, you're tripping too much. Like I would not believe you.
That's so crazy, man. That's so crazy and so inspiring too. That's crazy. Like just from what you said there, like a lot of people, I don't think would ever be willing to say that that jump can happen. Like, but that's what's happening to you right now, and that's crazy. I don't have a good thing to say about that. I'm just
Yeah,
saying it's
yeah,
crazy because it happens. But I think it is kind of funny though. What I'm thinking about is, I think for some people, they're the kind of people that need to necessarily makes what succeeds for them is they make a plan and they take the steps in that plan and that works. But what seems to succeed for you isn't necessarily that way. It seems to be that you go somewhere, you see how it is, and you kind of like take whatever comes at you and start moving towards it. And that's the
I've become
way
obs-
it's working for you.
yeah, I've become obsessed with it, and I make my goals. So my goals right now was like, okay, I want to do 250 shows this year. I'm gonna do 50 shows as MC, and I want to get 5 commercials. I don't know how, but I'll get 5 commercials, and it's gonna happen. I don't know how. I don't know how, but I don't need to know how. Something's gonna happen. And the good thing is, like every now and then, something that on paper was gonna be impossible always happened to me. So it gave me the power of believing myself. It gave me the power of things like write down your goals. If they are clear, somehow they're gonna happen. You
Yeah.
don't know how, but there's things like there's impossible, and then there was like so. This, for example, there's a website. It's called Spotlight. It's for like only for like people that study drama or for trained actors that have to study. They have TV credits. So basically, you have to be one of good good actors, whatever, to be in there.
Yeah.
And I wrote down on my goals last year. I was like, by May 2024, I will have an account on Spotlight. Bear in mind, I have no training, I have nothing. 2 weeks later, I get the Comedy Central job. 3 weeks later, I'm on Spotlight. And they happen in October rather than May 2000. So I just write everything in my room. I read my goals every morning. I read my goals every night. And I know it's going to happen.
I'm with you on that. Like it's funny because I have this journal. It's where I've been writing. I found a way to start because journaling I always found tough, but people kept saying like, hey, write some journal, get your stuff there. So I've got these great quotes, and I start the journal by writing down the quote and saying like, here's what I think is great about this quote. Here's what I think maybe I would change for myself. And I write that in this journal. And what this says here, I don't know if this is zooming in or not, but it says it
Yeah.
until it's
It's
done.
true.
And I have noticed that too. Like, I mean, like I definitely connect with your story on this because it sounds like not only do you have the dream and the vision, which is great, but when you're playing the law of averages too, because you're saying, well, look, I'm going to do 250 gigs. So it's almost impossible not to be better. Like it's the same thing for me. I'm going to ask a certain amount of people to be on the show, even if I don't think they'll want to be on it. Like I asked you and I was like, I don't think Tino's going to care about this podcast, you know? But you said, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. That's what you wrote me back. And I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
imagine I didn't ask him. But I
Exactly.
loved your
Exactly.
comedy. I loved your posts, and so I was like,
Thank you.
well, why don't I just reach out to him? Maybe he'll tell me to go fuck myself. But so I'm no worse off than I was before.
It's literally taking a chance. It's literally taking a chance. That's why I don't agree on not talking to people. You talk to everyone. Like you never know what happens. But just the main thing is just like, and that's something I need to get better at. Just ask. I never ask for things. I only ask God and the universe. But in terms of like people, I never ask. And I'm like, maybe if I want to do more gigs, I should have asked promoters. But I don't. And I'm like, I'd rather get promoted to ask me to be part of them. Because that means they can see my potential rather than me asking for something, if it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. That totally makes sense. But at the same time,
it's happening. So, and again, like I believe, like like especially podcasts, they go somewhat like a huge power that we don't understand. Like again, like for me, like I was listening yesterday to one of like Louis C.K. podcasts, and again, like I think you gotta surround by people. Like, when you say like you gotta surround people, they have same lifestyle, the same experience, everything. Okay, if you have those friends, just listen to books, like listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts. Still try to surround yourself by that type of positivity around. Because, like, honestly, if you listen to Louis C.K., the people say it was one of the best, if not the best. Man, we have no idea how it's been, like, how he went through things for 20 years. And now people think, like, it's Louis C.K. Of course he made it because he was already good. No, it was like a piece of garbage as well. And he just literally, and everything went sideways for 20 years. And who am I to complain because things are not going well for like 2 years of comedy? I'm literally aware that for the next 10 years, things are going to go south. But that's
That's
why I'm trying to build on something else.
that's absolutely true. And it kind of reminded me. I remember, I think it was Kevin. I was listening to Kevin Hart talking about, he was at some event. I think he might have been at a sporting event, and they had a like a private room at the stadium or whatever. And there's all these famous people there, and Jeff Bezos is there, right? And so he's gonna go up and talk to Jeff Bezos. And his friend is like, "Oh no, don't be that guy, man. What is it? What's that? It's freaking Jeff Bezos in the room." And he's like, what do you mean be that guy? He's like, people go up and talk to him all the time. People try to bug him all the time. You probably don't want to be that guy. And he was like, forget you, man. There's one Jeff Bezos. He's in the room with me right now. I'm going to go talk to him and just tell him, hey, I admire what you've done. And maybe he's going to tell me that and so, but like the thing you said, like, just ask people, just get up and talk to people, talking to those guys at the thing. Hey, what do? You work in finance? Fantastic. Now I know something you didn't know before.
Ali.
So no, I love that. And also writing down your goals and having a clear vision too. It's not just dreams. It's also, you do have a plan of action, taking actions, and the luck happens from there, and your skills grow from there. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
It's just a matter of time. Like, if I said that this year I'm going to post 50 vlogs, I know those 50 vlogs, they will give me a lot more followers than I have right now if I don't post it. The more followers you have, the more chance you have like making money with videos. You know what I mean? It's just like everything's just about put the right work. So I force myself to do one vlog a week. That's it. That's the goal for the year. Let's see what happens next year. But in the meantime, I'm studying, and I ask people so I didn't study anything about like filmmaking or anything. So I've been asking people, they do that. I'm like, can you just check my vlogs and see what you think, what you will change, or can you give me a tip? Because obviously, again, like, I'm not trained on this. So I just make jokes about it. That's why people watch it, just because they like the jokes. But what if I can make it even like nice on the filmmaking part? They will change completely. It will change completely the type of vlogs. And again, we never know what happens in life.
I feel that way as well. If you can do the best you can at the thing, if you say you're going to do it, like again, with this podcast, before I even started it, I got the best cameras that I could purchase. I got the best microphones I could get. I tried to do everything as professionally as possible, lighting and all of that. Even if I've never done it before, because I think it's important. So I think you're right about that. And speaking about the vlogs, one of the things that's I wanted to ask you a question, might be a left turn, but you have a format on some of your posts that's like, my life is like X, like my life is like a circus, my life is like a birthday party, my life is like the Titanic, that kind of thing, etc. Like, how did that format start, and how did you get into doing that? Speaking of your posts, which everybody should follow you, by the way, and because it's super, super funny. So if you're not following right now, it's Tino. Yeah, that's it. You're missing out. It's super funny. Yeah, the el dente noodle and everything, man. Come on.
Thank you. Appreciate that. No, but what happened was I used to do, so if you go back on my profile, you see every blog I've done in New York. I used to start like, I woke up this morning. Every day, everybody was like, I woke up this morning. But then I did this vlog. I was like, the goal for 2024 is a vlog every week. I do one vlog. And the first thing when I started, I was like, I don't know why. I felt like, my life is like. And then I posted, and people liked it. And then I went to work, and people, they literally, when they saw me, the first thing they said like, oh, my life is like. So I was like, this is something that it gets stuck in people's head, if it makes sense. So I'm like, okay, Yeah, it's the hook I was looking for. So now I'm trying. I was like, let me try again, and now again. My life is like, and people get like, oh man, I love the beginning. Like it's the hook, and I was like, okay. So sometimes you get remember people by just say, oh, what's the guy they say my life is like, which is easy to remember. And I was like, I'm just gonna stick to this format for now, and I'm gonna experience different type of things, different type of angles, different type of cameras. Let's see, and then let's see what happens. I'm gonna stick to my life is like for a bit.
It's fantastic. Your life is like, but also you usually have a great joke at the same time with it. So it's not just as easy as using the format my life is like. You start there and then it's my life is like a birthday party, and there's like a some awful situation which I think is great. My life is like the Titanic is not necessarily, so you do have to craft a joke around it too, which I think is awesome.
And now it's hard because for this week vlog, I'm like, my life is like, I'm trying to figure out because the vlog is about British people acting really weird when it's sun outside. Because on Wednesday, for the first time in ages, it was a bit of sun, and people were fucking wild.
What do you? Well, how? What do you mean?
Oh man, like topless on the streets. We're talking about 12 degrees. We're talking about 12 degrees just because it was sunny. It was talking about like 12 degrees, and everyone was having like a ice latte because everyone was like ice latte, topless people, people eating ice cream on the street. It was just fucking mental.
Like
And I'm
it's
like, people
full
like,
summertime.
12 degrees, right? 12 degrees. It would just be sunny, convertible cars. It was just insane. Manchester was mental, like for one day. And I was like, this is a vlog. This is a vlog. Which, by the way, I'm gonna start posting. I used to post every Sunday. Now, from now, I think I'm gonna post every Tuesday or Thursday
Nice.
because I feel like on Sunday, not many people would. I don't know. Not many of my followers use Instagram for what I'm experiencing.
Gotcha. So
So I'm
yeah,
trying again. It's a different speed. I'm trying to get the right time, the right day. But
I'm doing the same thing. I've picked two. This podcast comes out on Tuesday mornings, so
okay,
specifically because it just seems to be a time where people are
we're
ready to
close. That's it.
listen to it. Yeah, and same thing. Like that's why the different posts have to be on different things. So it all makes sense. But like, it's cool that you're learning this new stuff. I mean, speaking of that, so you've been doing this for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So as somebody who's just starting out day one, what types of tips would you give them? Like what would you say would be the way to at least expand or get started? Because it did seem pretty difficult, to get going. The starting point does seem really hard for stand-up comedy, just from my perspective.
I will say, if you don't, when you talk about it, if you don't have something inside the moves, if you're not in love with it, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it because the downs are way more than the ups, especially at the beginning. And bear in mind, if you want to make a career out of it, imagine that for the first 10, 15 years, you're not going to make any money out of it. So it's not a thing unless it's got lots of love and passion for it. And then if despite you think about that, the question is still you want to do it, the answer is still yes, you want to do it, just forget about everything else. Just become obsessed with this. Become just obsessed with it. Like nothing's gonna stop you. Don't have a plan B. Talent does not exist. It's just obsession. And
You've
then
said that a few times. It's just obsession. Talent does not exist. It's just obsession.
always, it's just obsession. It's just you gonna post 50 podcasts, 51, 52. Maybe you don't get results for like years. Maybe you post podcast 741 and it goes absolutely wild viral. People have 6 years of view of your podcast. They'd be like, why this guy? And that's when people make it overnight. But they don't see that you've been posting like 740 episodes that people did not give a single fuck about.
Yeah, that's
And now,
exactly how it is with any of the big guys you see right now who are like popular this year. They've done 3 solid years of putting out consistent podcasts once a week at least, and nobody viewed those at all. You just see their flat line and it just spikes. So
it's like literally Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast, he did not get a decent video for the first 6 years. So what makes you in the head of him? Like, what makes you think that you're gonna, in terms of other people, what makes you think that you're gonna become overnight success with one video that you post? Also, sometimes happens. You post one thing, it goes viral. You can't handle it because you're not that person. It was just like a luck, and now you're not that person. So people disappointed what you do. They're disappointed your work. It's like if I got a new account on Instagram and I post it away and I get like thousands of views or millions of views, and it's just one link, one post, people are not gonna follow me because people not gonna see the rest of the work, if it makes sense. Like if something has to go viral, you'd rather go viral when you have like a bank of other stuff that you've been doing for ages, so people can start scrolling your videos and be like, actually, this guy, I love it. This is my new favorite guy. How did I not discover this guy before? Do you know what I mean? And then you start following. But I just believe that we live in a society where now people are not used to do sacrifices.
Mm.
And they just want everything right here, right now. And every, like, I show you my phone. I don't know if you can see. I can show you my phone. It says, I don't know where I am now.
I see it. Raise your vibration. Good things take time.
Good things takes time.
Don't stop when you're tired. Stop when you're done. Classic.
That's on my phone. But the thing that I love about it is a good thing takes time. Loads of times. But that's why they're good. Decent things takes nothing. Like hopeful things take seconds. But the good things, because again, like the good comedians, once they get discovered, 15 years in, 20 years in, they're gonna stay there forever.
Yeah, they always have that foundation.
That's it. They're gonna stay forever because they are ready for this. Like Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle, like Chris Rock, like you know, like and I don't know, Henry Schultz. Now we go Mark Norman.
Yeah.
Once some real, like you know, they've been doing this for 10 years, 12 years. They felt they were good, but no one knew who they were. And then randomly they popped up, and now they're there. And Theo Von, like no one's gonna. They're the best. Joey Diaz, and that's. I think I'm more like Joey Diaz in terms of comedy because there's no talent.
So?
It just living the life. It just tells stories about it.
That's an interesting way to think about it too, because I sort of looked at Joey Diaz as being like an almost natural talent in this, but that's not really true, is it? Because he had to kill himself in Colorado and in New York and in Los Angeles, and just followed the guys who were doing it bigger than him at the time. But yeah, he does sort of just say his perspective, so it can seem very natural. It can seem like it's just who he is, but at the same time, he's got a whole skill set that maybe we don't see so easily with comedy.
He's a storyteller now. He knows how to tell stories, and people love it. And I guess, like, I think the hardest bit is at the beginning when no one knows who you are. The more people know you, the easier it becomes. Like, it's easy because people are going to talk more about you, and of course, you have a lot more eyes on you. So it's just the beginning. But again, you want to be discovered when you know that you can offer something.
It's true. You can't do the thing. Well, then again, sometimes winging it works, as we've learned from your story. But you have the raw materials too. Obviously, like if you're not clever and fast on your feet, you're gonna struggle with winging it probably. But that's not your problem for sure. And you're definitely inspiring me, because I know this when I got this idea a long time ago, actually, where before there was really podcasts popular at the time, and I think my big mistake was just not starting sooner, obviously, and saying I want to do this. But I had this idea in my head that I wanted to interview 1,000 people, and that's really the goal. Is like, can I maybe it'll be more than that down the road, but I had this thought that, like, well, if I never really felt like I understood people that well. Let's just put it that way. I felt like I was ignorant about a lot of things. And so I was like, well, maybe if I talk to 1,000 people who all did 1,000 different things and lived 1,000 different lives, I might have some perspective on patterns in the world and patterns with people and what people might want to do. And so, yeah, it's kind of where I'm aiming for this too, is I kind of have this strange obsession to interview 1,000 people. And even I started doing it on Twitch when there was a situation where with my wife and with some people in my family where I didn't feel I could do the podcast as regularly as I wanted to. I didn't want to have somebody like you're in England, and then I didn't want to just cancel on you by accident because I had to go to the hospital or something like that. So when that situation was cleared up, I got back to doing the podcast. But I started doing Twitch streams in the meantime, where I would just make jokes about 1950s comic books, where I'm like, okay, if I don't show up, it doesn't matter, but I can keep performing and I can keep doing something fun and funny. And before long, the Twitch stream turned into interviewing people. I just started interviewing all the other streamers. So I was like, okay, you don't want to do anything but interview people. Get on top of this, make episodes, ask people to be here, and interview 1,000 people if you want to interview 1,000 people. So I kind of feel that I'm connecting a little bit with what you're saying, with just saying, like, if you want to do this, you're going to do it. It's not going to kick in immediately. Why would you think it's going to kick in immediately? Find a way through the problems, find a way to do it anyway, and go forward. I don't know.
And also, I'm sure the first time he did the first interview or the first podcast, I don't think it was good. I don't think it was good. Like, I'm not sure. But if you look back, how much did you improve?
I'm probably better. I'm probably better now. Also, just the looks of things, everything changes. Like I repainted the wall recently so that I pop further from the background. You know, there's a million little things that change.
And you want to be able to get your break when not at the beginning, because you don't have experience. You don't know even how to handle it.
Yeah.
You want to be able, like, also, like, again, like, the goal is 1,000 people, and by the time you reach the goal, that gives you so much experience. You're so much better.
Yeah.
And along the journey, a lot more things can happen.
I agree. No, I agree. You never know what's going to happen. You don't know who you're going to meet, what you're going to talk to. I mean, like you always get these opportunities that come out of nowhere. I feel like the invisible opportunities from actions you took. Like, you had this conversation with somebody. It's not just that conversation, because that person walks away now knowing who you are. They remembered a thing you said to them. Maybe you said something nice to them and you don't even remember it, but they remember and come back and go, hey, yeah, I remember you told me that, and I ended up going and doing this work. I wanted to thank you. You know, this kind of stuff. You gave me the inspiration I needed, all this kind of stuff.
That's
like
it.
Just talking to you right now, I feel so much more inspired for
Thank you.
Posting more. Just
that's it. You gotta post. That's it. Also, have you ever thought about, because I believe, obviously, if you interview the people that you like, it looks like all the people being interviewed, they can be pretty much the same, if it makes sense, like towards a goal. So have you ever thought about maybe like do like a group, like a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group where you can all talk to each other?
I haven't thought of it. I mean, just to put a group together on Facebook to be like, hey, anyone who's been on the podcast can be on. Any
guest, and just bring them on one by one till you get 1,000 people.
I have a Facebook page for this, and I hadn't thought of how to use it. Maybe that's the way.
Just bring us all together
and say, hey, this is everybody awesome who I met, and everyone does different stuff. Like the next person I'm going to talk to is doing real estate. Do you know
what I mean? And everything's got something that we can share to each other. So we can all learn if we ever drive, and we feel like now we're all part of something. If it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put it in. I'm gonna seriously consider that, and maybe I'll make one. It's just there's always so many things to make. You know, like I'm like, okay, I got Discord, and I've got all of this stuff. But you know what? That's not a good excuse. That could be something. If people want to chat with each other and say, hey, here's all the guests. And you guys, you know, I think everyone here is really awesome. So feel free to get to it. That could be cool. Yeah. That could be cool.
I think it's a community that you're building the community.
That is amazing. I realize we've been talking for a little while, right? I guess
2 hours.
Yeah, it's easy to do. You know, honestly, that's the fun thing. This is why I also thought, you know, like I didn't just think I could do this for no reason at all. I was like, I get into conversations with people, they go on forever. people tell me all kinds of stuff about their lives and stuff just in regular circumstances. Even like the cashier at the grocery store is telling me about how when they were in high school they did the talent show and they were singing Huey Lewis in the News or something. So I'm like, okay, and I remember that. So for me, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm supposed to do this kind of thing.
You said you want to talk to people, and now people talk to you.
Now they do. They do seem to.
You manifested it somehow. Maybe you do want to manifest everywhere, but that's what you're getting right now.
Seems to be working. It seems to be working, but it has been a couple of hours. So I'll ask you like just a couple of more like just a couple of questions, but and we'll close it down. But I do think that what's going on with the glasses? Do we need glasses?
Yes, I do. Every now and then, I feel like my eye is still like, okay, we need glasses.
I have some Carrera glasses here right now. There we
go. Does it do like a reflection or not? They okay? You can.
You're good. Mine does kind of a bit. I see, like you can see, I have an iPad down here with my questions on it, which I've not really needed much of because you know how to tell your stories, which I appreciate. But I was gonna say, like, I don't think I need to ask this question, which is one that I ask everybody, but I'll ask you anyway because I do. At the end, I want to know this. You've kind of told me some of this already, though. But it's what would you, out of all of these different, you've had some ups and downs, different mistakes, different stuff like that. Things didn't go this way, they went that way. What do you think your best mistake was, and how did that lead to better things in life? And I think you've kind of maybe already told me this with comedy, but what's something that comes to mind?
The biggest mistake was do you reckon a mistake or the thing in general?
I feel like at the time you felt like it was actually a mistake. Like you were like, this was stupid. I screwed up, but maybe it led you to something better in the end, or it was the right thing, even though you didn't like it at the time.
The biggest mistake was moving to the UK, which was the biggest mistake was me thinking that I could have made us a professional football players in the UK.
Wow.
That was the biggest mistake. And the thing that didn't make it as a football player is the best thing that's never happened. And from there, I was able to bear in mind when I was born with a speech impediment, so I could not speak, which is even more fucking mind blowing now. I started speaking when I was really old. Like I think I was like 4 years old. Like my first words, and my grandfather was like, why are these guys not speaking? What's going on with this kid? What's wrong? And then I started speaking. But again, I was like, this is weird. And now I speak 3 languages. I speak Italian, Spanish, English. I get paid to tell jokes in a different language that's not mine. And I believe that's all the movie, the circle is completing, you know what I mean?
Wow.
So,
that's incredible, though. It's incredible that it is so funny how something can start in one place and go to the complete opposite direction somehow.
To the complete opposite direction, yeah. And
be the right thing.
You look back, it'll be like, wow, that was a good thing. Like, you never know. Like, again, I think also I'm a firmly believer that everything happens for a reason.
Okay.
So now when things don't go my way or what like I plan, I'm like, okay, it means something better is coming. I don't know what, or something better is gonna come, like maybe in 6 months, maybe not right now. But it's happening for a reason. I still don't know why. I can't figure out now. But I will eventually. And every time somehow I figure out. Because in Italy, like last year, 2 years ago, I've done 100 job interviews, could not get a job. And I was like, why? Manchester, start doing comedy properly. Vlogs are going well. I did a TV show. You know what I mean? Like things that if I got the job in Italy, it would have been game over.
You'd just be doing that. The dream's over, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know what was going to happen. I don't know if I ever was going to, I don't know. But that's also like, compromising is a bit like, don't compromise, just do your thing.
It's true. You could have ended up getting that job, maybe getting married and having kids or something, and then it's not really easy to do comedy anymore, and that's just gone. And the time is gone too.
That's it.
Wow.
So everything happens for a reason.
That's incredible. That is incredible. And yeah, okay. I kind of just like I'm starting to philosophize about it now in my own head while I listen to your story. But do you feel like you have a? It does seem like you have a strong set of specific values that you're following. Do you feel
Mhm.
like on a day to day basis you have a personal ethos or set of values that you adhere to? And you know what? More than I'm scratch that. I want to ask you something else because you mentioned Manchester and you had to keep coming back to England, even though you tried New York and you tried being in Firenze. I have a hard time saying Florence. I know everyone knows it as Florence. I learned it was Firenze, and I'm like, I'm not saying Florence
Stick
anymore.
to Firenze.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm like, it's. I never understood why in English we do that, but we take stuff that wasn't close to what the name is and be like, it's Florence. It's easier to
That's
say.
it.
But no, Firenze. So, do you feel like there is a where to happiness or a where to success, like a location based situation? Like, if you don't get yourself to the right place, do you feel
Mm.
like you wouldn't have succeeded? Like, it sounds that way to me. So, that's why I'm asking.
I I believe every the right time, the right place. So I needed London in the beginning to suffer, to understand what it means, to understand that if you nothing is impossible, you can learn English, you can make your life. And then I need Florence in that moment. I needed Florence because I needed to realize to have a good job, everything well paid, to make me understand that it's not about the money, it's about the passion that you have. But also the money that I was making there, they helped me to go to New York. So all the time I always use, and then I needed New York to understand I want to live here. I would love to live here. Like, and then obviously I need Manchester to build myself. So I believe I'm always at the right time and at the right place.
Wow, man, that's fantastic. So every piece of the puzzle is important for the entire
And,
picture.
and the picture, like in the puzzle, it's just like every single piece, like fits together. If I look back, I was like, if I didn't get that good job, I wasn't able to have enough money saved to move to New York and not work for 3 months. If I didn't do this, I could never have done that. So if I look back now, I'm like, yeah, this balling, like it has to be the right way. And the more I live, the more I look back. I'm like, yeah, this is the right things to do.
Amazing. That's amazing. Okay, well, I know it's been a couple of hours already, so I'll let you go. But I really appreciate your story.
Oh no,
It's incredible, and thank you for being here so
no,
much.
thank you. I
And is there
really
and sorry, is there anything else you wanted to say? Anything else I didn't get to? Like, feel free to, if there's a message you want to put out, put it out. You know.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you, and genuinely, you are a really good person to talk to. Like, because I didn't know anyone, but the way you put me comfortable, like you put me in a comfortable situation straight away.
Wow.
And that's something that I think that's who you are. That's if something comes easy, that's your gift, and that's what you should push on. If it makes sense. Obviously, yeah, like the way you listen to people, like there's nothing. There is a mechanic. There's nothing fake. It's actually like a genuine interest, and that's it. Man, I just want to say thank you.
Wow.
It was
That's
great.
the best compliment that you can give me because that is like, I hope that that's my talent. Do you know what I mean?
It's,
Like,
it is because I didn't know you, and literally 5 minutes into the conversation, put me like at ease.
well, I hope that that's the case. And no, I mean, it was really easy for me as well because you were able to just tell your story. I mean, sometimes it's more work for me. Let's put it that way. Where I'm like, okay, this person is somebody who just is a craftsman or something, and that's
Mm,
not their thing to talk. Like, you've been talking on stage for a couple of years, so
yeah.
you obviously, I was like, I don't need to do anything with Tino. He's got it. He's got it locked down.
I talk even when people don't want to listen to me. Like last night, last night I bombed for 20 minutes straight.
No. How did you deal? Like,
People,
how do you deal?
I don't deal. Like I'm aware of it. I'm aware that these people collective, and are deciding we don't like you. You are in for like a really, really, really rough ride. I can see their faces, and I'm just trying to enjoy. And I'm like, well, I know you don't like me, but I'm still gonna share things. If you don't like me, just get out of the room.
No, but that's okay. That's I should have asked you about this too. I do actually have a questions about that, but I didn't. I don't want to interrupt because you're telling your incredible life story. But that
No,
is
but
that is a thing. Like bombing's a thing. It's
oh
gotta
yeah,
feel. It's gotta feel awful. Like when something's not going. Even if you're just a person at a some gathering of some kind, like some coffee shop or something, and you say a joke or you say something and everybody's silent, and it's just three people at the table. You're all. It's pretty awkward. So now you're on stage. You're in front of whoever knows how many people, 20, 30, 100 people,
it's
and they
pretty.
all decide that you're not for them.
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do? Like, how do you get over this feeling, or because you're gonna feel the feelings, right? What do you do?
Everyone, when people start in comedy, or everyone, like even my comedians friends, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill it. I learned how to kill the room. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill it." And everyone's like obsessed with killing. I'm like, I'm learning to bomb with grace. So that's my out. That's my right now. I'm not meant to kill it because I just started. Me killing right now, it doesn't not give me anything good. I'm learning. I mean, obviously, it would be better if I kill it, but I'm not. I haven't developed the right skills to kill at the moment. What I can do is bombing because I can do every time I go on stage. That's for sure. Like you never know when you can kill it, but for sure you know you can bomb every gig. So what if instead of bombing, I start learning how to bomb with grace? So I enjoy the bomb. I stop sweating and I start having fun with the bomb. And this is what I start having. I'm having fun with the bomb. If I learn to bomb with grace, which is the worst case scenario, what happens when you start killing it?
Even better. No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense
I
because
try to have fun when I bomb. That's it.
it feels like almost martial arts in a way. Like I know that the jujitsu starts that way.
Mm,
If people decide they're going, or any martial arts really, you're obviously bad at first, and anyone who has any experience on you is going to beat you immediately.
yeah.
And so in jujitsu, they generally you're doing defense for like the first year because everyone can beat you and you know absolutely nothing. So your goal is to lose less quickly.
Yes. That's the
So
bomb. But yeah,
that's the bomb.
exactly. The goal is bomb less. Or when you bomb with grace. Just
Bomb with grace.
enjoy and embrace the bomb. Embrace the bomb. Because I
I've
think I go on.
no,
No,
no.
no, no.
I was just gonna. I was just saying. I was just gonna go off on a tangent about how I think Norm Macdonald and Bill Burr were kind of the kings of doing that. Like they could, Norm Macdonald particularly could just be like, I'm gonna tell a bunch of old timey dad jokes and see how bad everyone hates me for the next 30 minutes. And and it was funny in that it's like almost meta funny because he knew this was tough, but he already could make you laugh anytime he wanted to. He's been doing this forever. So he kind of switched to doing like, can I do a joke that it's how bad am I doing this kind of joke, or how long is this
Yeah.
terrible story I'm going to tell, and see how long I can keep people engaged with it. Bill Burr, on the other hand, I felt like he almost did it like an exercise where he knew he had like the wrong audience for a particular joke and get everybody uncomfortable and then pull them back into being into his world and laughing again. And if you can do it, then I guess you've got the skill. You've got the skill of being a comedian at that point, I
That's
guess.
it. You're there. That's why the one you mentioned at the top, everyone is up there. And they bombed for ages.
Yeah.
So the is bomb, and then every time I bomb, it's like okay, one bomb out of the way. It's like every self tape, every audition I don't get, it's like okay, one out of the way. I'll get it eventually. Eventually, one is gonna land,
Yeah.
and the more they land, the more you get it. You know, you just build the momentum.
And I guess the self tape is you can watch yourself back, you can see the reactions, you can make changes.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Same for vlogs. I do the vlogs, analyze the vlogs. Like, okay, I could have done this. The moment when I hit post, 2 hours in, I'm like, oh, the joke was way better. And I feel like, oh fuck, that joke was way better. And I start thinking like, oh, maybe I should have done this. I get it. There's a reason I'm learning. We all learn.
That makes sense.
We all learn.
We all learn, and I guess putting yourself in the hard situation, that's part of building the character, building the skills, and it's the part nobody likes because it's uncomfortable, but that's inevitable, I guess, or unavoidable.
Exactly.
Amazing.
It is.
Okay, look, I'll leave you alone. I'm exciting this. I'm getting excited about this conversation, so it just happens like that. But I'm sure you have other things to do. We already talked for over 2 hours.
I go another podcast. So now I'm working with a friend. We are doing a podcast together.
Whoa.
So we just started. So we are not putting anywhere out. We're just working together right now. We do like a pilot episodes.
Okay.
Where we'll be trying. We see how we get it on. We're trying to we got good chemistry. We're just trying to figure out, and then we analyzed. Okay, I'm interrupting you too much. You are doing this. You're not speaking clear enough. You're not. So we're analyzing everything, and then we're gonna do this for a couple of hours, and then we analyze it tomorrow, next week, and then eventually we'll put it live. We're working slowly.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. I'll watch.
We're Italians. I'm the original one because I'm the one who speaks like this. The other guy moved too long. I moved to the UK when he was 4, so he's got like a British accent.
So he's okay. So I see we've got British Italian, legitimate. Do you ever argue about that? I guess like, who's the most Italian, or
no? You just say who's the most racist. That's what we're arguing about.
Fair. That's fair.
He wins.
He's the most Okay, cool. Well, tell me when it comes out because I'd like to see it.
I will.
In the meantime, everybody can follow you on, I guess. Well, I know you from Instagram, but like, what are the different platforms you're on?
I just started TikTok like recently. I'm just trying, but Instagram is the main thing.
Okay, Instagram's main.
Yeah.
But
that's it. Tino, that's it.
TikTok's cool. Although I'll say this, like, I mean, it's a whole nother animal as well. But my best TikTok that did the most, that had the most engagement, tens of thousands of stuff, was me reading a 1950s comic, noticing that one of the drawings of the character's mouth looks like a butthole. And I say, what does that look like to you? And that's the one everyone likes on TikTok. So there might... There's a way.
If you do the same on Instagram, you probably get banned.
Nobody likes it on Instagram.
Yeah.
They're like, what is this filth? But no, on TikTok, they're like, yes, give us manja, give me the shit. So
no, thank you. It's been great. Thank you.
So happy Sunday. I hope you have the best rest of your evening. And I'm gonna let's call it the end. All
right. Thank you very much. Have a lovely Sunday. Yeah.
All the best.